Space, the final frontier. Well, okay, not really. All right, take two. Here in the Mitten State, welcome to Code 47, bringing you all things Star Trek, spanning the quadrants, the best thing since the neutral zone.
Hey, gang. Welcome back to the Code 47 podcast on the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. This is episode 165. I was just marveling the other day. I was talking to April. I said, I cannot believe the show has been on for over 5 years. We started this in the fall of 2020. We have gone through a lot of different hosts before Peter came along. Peter Stein, my co-host. Good morning, Peter. How are you?
Good morning.
Before Peter stuck, and things really settled, and we're in a new era where we have great folks like Katie Nicolau, who is guesting with us again today. Katie, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm cold, but good.
I know, and you and I were talking about the Michigan weather here before we get started because we're headed to, Katie is a weather person at Channel 6 in Lansing, Michigan, if you happen to be a Michigan resident, and a magnanimous Star Trek personality. Tune into her own stuff and your local forecast, know the weather, and be careful this week if you have to live in Michigan. I am, of course, Charlie Carden, your Trek Lord of West Michigan, your humble servant, here to talk to you about Star Trek. Believe it or not, we had a big week. We have our first brand new show since was the last new show Prodigy? That was like new,
like brand new.
Yeah. No, I think it was, or was it Strange New Worlds? Strange New Worlds was 2022.
Depends on how technical you want to be. Yeah. Because Scouts was technically the most recent.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. But we'll frame it and say live action. So sorry, Prodigy. So this is the first brand new show, which really even Strange New Worlds was a spinoff, making it not exactly brand new, but then this is kind of a spinoff too. But anyway, I'm talking in circles, but I am talking about Starfleet Academy, which is a new show that is over to us from the folks at Paramount Plus. Is actually also for the month of January, which is when we're recording, available on YouTube for free.
Episode 1 is, yeah.
Yeah. So if you really want to give this the litmus test, and you do not use Paramount Plus, YouTube is the place for you. So we're going to talk about episodes 1 and 2, which are currently available as of the time of this recording. As I'd mentioned before, I've seen the first 6 episodes. I'm very excited to talk about those as we go. I am, of course, sworn to secrecy about the contents of the other 4, bound by the Pirates Code, as it were. I don't want to say Pirates Code because it sounds like I'm stealing, but I'm not. I'm doing this with the express written permission of the folks at CBS.
The Privateers Code?
Privateers Code. Okay. I'm good down with that. That certainly feels less skeevy.
You are a legitimate businessman.
There you go. And then, we have a news story to talk about as well. And then a little bit more about The Center Seat, which is the documentary we've been talking about. Katie was with us when we talked about episodes 1 and 2. I was checking my notes, and now she's back to talk about more of it. But first and foremost, want to kick off thanking the wonderful folks over at our Secret Friends Unite Patreon at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. These are the folks that get all of our shows free. They do get some exclusive content. Our exclusive content is kind of winding down a little bit, but there is 3 years worth of great stuff to listen to that is absolutely worth tuning into, including Peter and I talking about Ron Moore's Battlestar Galactica, which is frankly one of the greatest shows of all time. You should tune in. All of our shows come out early there. This show, for example, comes out on Monday, where it comes out on Sunday on Patreon, which may not sound like a lot, but you know what? It's a great way to start your morning drive on Monday if you like this show. We also have an exclusive channel over on our Discord. Your first week is free. First month is half off, and then you can stay on board for as little as $2 a month. We would love to have you. The entertainment value, if you check your entertainment ROI, your brain might not, data from TNG couldn't calculate the ROI of the Secret Friends Unite Patreon. I'm putting it on Front Street. That is my statement. Fight me, but don't fight me, because you know what? Star Trek is about peace. Patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. We would love to have you on board. Okay. Let's talk about a news story. And it's funny, we were chuckling about this in the pre-roll. We've known for a little while now that Star Trek Voyager is coming out with a video game, which is the first one since, Peter, correct me, was it the Elite Team or whatever it was back in the 90s? You know the game I'm talking about?
Oh, for Voyager? Yeah, Elite Force. Yeah, Elite Force, the first. Elite Force 2 had a level on Voyager, and then the rest was on the Enterprise E.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Well, regardless, this video game is coming out like now. And some gameplay was released. So Peter, as our resident video game, guy, I'm gonna kick it on over to you. Talk to me about this game.
Yeah, so Voyager Across the Unknown had a beta that released, I think, 2 months ago, where they were like, hey, if you want early access to test out the game and give feedback and all of that jazz. So, of course, being the dork that I am, I downloaded it and tried it out. It is a resource management game. Where you you manage the resources of the ship. So, like the premise of the show. So you have to worry about like your energy, your food, your deuterium. No one's going to starve theoretically. You also have to worry about quarters. So you have to fix rooms in the ship so that you can have people bunk. Otherwise they get grouchy because they're sleeping in the corridors.
I see that. I see that in one of the screen caps. If you look in the lower left-hand corner, there's a room in red that says damage. It's like,
so
I hope that's not my room.
Things get damaged in combat. So you have to build labs. You have to build like storage bays, holodecks. Like you have to do all of the stuff to manage the ship to make it livable.
Yeah.
Crew have different abilities that you can use on missions, and then you go through all 7 years of Voyager's missions, and within certain parameters you are able to make deviations from what happened.
Gotcha.
So it's not the beta was just caretaker, and you couldn't change that much.
Okay.
However, you did have the decision. You could decide that you were not going to destroy the array.
That would have been very nice.
I think that it does go like, and you go home the end. I think there was also another version where it was like, if you decided it blew up anyway. But but yeah, so there is some choice. I don't think it's as free of a choice as some people think it's going to be. But it does look like it's going to be fun. Like, you can like, here's a mission where we sent Harry Kim on, and I'm going to send someone else. Or here's one where it was, we took, the doctor, and I'm going to be a jerk and leave the doctor at home and make Tom Paris be the medic on this mission. I know it's going to be trash fire, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, right. Well, maybe if they have Kes shoot. Kes was okay.
Or Kes may never leave in yours. I don't know. So it kind of, we'll see what happens. Okay. It looks like it could be a lot of fun. There is no voice acting that I've heard.
Okay.
And at least no teasers were tipped when we talked to, why am I drawing blanks? Robin Garrett. So as far as I am aware, there is no voice acting in this.
Okay.
Now, of course, they could surprise us, but as far as I know, there is none.
Gotcha.
But it does look like it's a lot of fun. It's not, the starship combat is also there. I watched a video on that, and you are not directly flying the ship. It is similar to, if you're familiar to Bridge Commander, in the late 90s, where you give commands to the crew and manage special abilities. It's all mouse. So this was designed clearly by someone who is more familiar with touchscreens and tablets and those sorts of things. It's not you can do it with a mouse, but like the amount of things that are clicky on the screen, it's definitely for touch screens.
Clicky, clack. Got it.
But it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay. Katie, your level of familiarity, interest, or et cetera with video games. Never asked you about that before.
Oh, yeah, no, I'd be down for them. I'm a Wii generation gal and a Nintendo DS gal.
I Wii, yeah.
So I think I did play on PS4 just for Call of Duty Black Ops, but otherwise that's where I kind of stalled. So I'm going to get back into it.
I'd love to see Katie play
I am
Call of Duty Black Ops.
Yeah, I was a great sniper. I would infuriate people with my sniping abilities.
And you'd be so cheerful too. That's what people are like, God damn it, I just can't get mad at her. Oh my God.
I didn't do that so much in Call of Duty, but when I was doing Halo on people, like I surprised people because I was being a PC gamer. Everyone's like, oh, well, you're not going to be any good. Surprise. And now all of you have died to me multiple times.
And you have died of dysentery.
Yes.
We had a PS4 for, I'm going to say like, oh my God, when did it come out? It wasn't new, but it was like, okay, fine. There's finally a discount on it. So maybe like 7 or 8 years, and we don't game at all. I mean, I think April played Last of Us for a little while when the show first came out because she was psyched about it, and she got jammed to a spot. She's like, I'm done. And I always played
Last of Us is tough.
Well, I always play the Lego games. I love them. Lego DC,
those
Lego Star Wars, et cetera, et cetera.
Hey,
PS5,
maybe Lego Star Trek in the future.
Oh yeah, but from Traveler's Tale. So when PS5 came along, you were like, oh, there's another Spider-Man game, and I'm like, oh, I really ought to. But now we're to the point where I don't think I can turn it away based on this because I really got to have it. So I was, looking up those trade values at your local GameStop, and I'm like, oh, you can get $65 for your PlayStation 4. But I'm like, you know what? It's better than not getting $65 for it. So I might do that. Maybe that'll be something I do after we get back from the cruise. We'll see, because this game will be out by then. But yeah, I'm psyched. And Peter, you had mentioned you can play it on PC.
Yep.
I feel like I don't
on most platforms. I think.
Yeah.
Actually.
I don't know that would go swimmingly, but I would like an excuse to finally take the leap with the PS5 because I kind of feel like I'm due. So that'll be cool. So we'll probably come back and talk a little bit about that. If Peter does it, I do it. Katie, if you end up in making that investment,
I will certainly play it, and probably the Voyager will explode somewhere because I will manage something horrifically.
Yeah. Oh,
I push your galactic war.
I push this button instead of that.
No, I will go full Warlord Janeway and wipe out the Kazon.
Oh, well,
it's funny because that does get mentioned when we get in and talk about the center seat here about them talking about Voyager, and it was Bob Picardo and his thoughts about the Kazon. But let's not put the cart before the horse here, because that'll be fun. But that'll be good. But yeah, we'll report back on that. So the drop date on this is end of Feb 18. Feb 18. So that's about a month away. So we'll kind of see what comes of that. So that should be a good time. All right. Well, let's get into the thick of it. Brand new show. Yes, a spinoff, but to me doesn't, it's a spinoff in the same way that all Star Treks are spinoffs. But for me, I think in a lot of ways it's kind of some interesting original IP. Starfleet Academy, which we've obviously known about for a long time because there's no such thing as quick production anymore. So this was announced like 3 years ago or something, and we've been like, what's this going to be like? It is available, as we talked about earlier, obviously on Paramount Plus. If you have not gotten into Paramount Plus, it's a must for me. Certain people gripe about it, certain people love about it, but that's media. I don't care. We're not here to talk about that, because if you're listening to the show, you're probably going to watch this show because you like Star Trek, because what else would you be doing here? But anyway, that'll be the ongoing source of it as we go. And then, as we had mentioned, it is available here in the month of January. We're recording this in January of 26 on the, I believe, the Paramount or maybe the CBS YouTube channel. But we'll jump in. We got 2 episodes in one fell swoop. I'm going to read the summary for episode 1, and I'm going to kick it over to Katie to get us rolling about her thoughts. Season 1, episode 1 is called Kids These Days. Kids These Days. Making it sound like from the point of a Gen Xer or even a boomer, if you will.
Greetings, fellow kids.
Yes, exactly. Which is funny based on the fact that, obviously the vitriol of the grumpies out there who are like, I don't like a show about teenagers. Meh, meh, meh.
We're all hormonal.
Yeah, I don't know that that's going to be us, but you're going to find out. So anyway, after being on the run since age 6, 21-year-old Caleb, or as I'd like to call him, Ezra/Kid from Aladdin, is a brilliant street kid, is offered the chance of a lifetime to join the first new Starfleet Academy class in San Francisco in over a century. There's just one problem. The person offering the spot is newly minted Chancellor Nala Ake. The Starfleet captain who sentenced Caleb's mother to a Federation prison 15 years ago. Isn't that awkward? Meow, meow. Katie, take us through it. Talk to me about how you're feeling about this episode.
Yeah, so I really liked it, and I was very vocal about that too online, because I got to go to the premiere in New York City, and so I got to see it before most people, and that really, before the episode dropped, there was a lot of griping online of people being like, oh, it's going to be a CW Star Trek. I'm like, whoa, man, why are we trashing the CW too, y'all? Like, dang. But
those people watch stuff too. They see ads and drive up revenues and etc. Money.
Exactly. But yeah, no, it's going and seeing the episode, especially on a big screen in a room full of people, is such an interesting experience because you get to gauge live, like, how are people reacting to this? And pretty much for the entire thing, everyone's reactions were in par with my own. So it was like, oh, cool. We're all like-minded. I love that. But yeah, I think the episode it surprised me. I specifically stayed away from the trailers. I stayed away from the previews. I didn't see any sneak peeks or anything because I didn't want to have an influence going into it.
Yeah.
Most shows smart. I have that influence of like, oh, cool, I saw a trailer or something and that's what got me into it. This one I'm like, I'm going to watch it no matter what.
Yeah, right.
So getting to see that just playing out of the box really did help get that energy going and just keep your mind on the soul track of this is what I'm seeing.
Right.
So sweet.
Right. Absolutely. Cool. All right. Let's walk through it a little bit. Peter, you want to kind of take us from the beginning and give us kind of your first portion of thoughts? I have notes. You have notes. Katie, I'm sure you have notes, but why don't you go for it?
Yeah. So I don't have a layout of the episode plot, but
that's okay.
Yeah. So we started out with, a brief recounting of the burn, just so that you have initial world building context, which is great for those who didn't watch Discovery. So you're like,
that was a note. Yeah, that was a note I had as well because Peter, I'm sure you remember Tanya, who is a contributor of ours. She's actually going to be on to talk about some episodes of this further down the line. Had not watched Discovery, watched it, and just didn't care for it, which echoes kind of how Peter and I feel. But she was not familiar, and I thought, well, there was a brief explanation at the beginning, which obviously didn't get the job done. So there's only so much they can do because, you can't be like, well, let's spend 5 minutes on it. It's really going to drag the story down.
I mean, it's to be perfectly frank, it's not that important to the story. It's more just like something happened, it wasn't good.
It's this
and moving on.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that worked. It was fine. We've got Tatiana Maslany playing Caleb's,
not anymore though.
Caleb's mom. I really like her as an actress. I first saw her in Orphan Black, so I'm curious to see where she goes. What they're going to do with the character.
Yeah.
Because if she's only going to be like in it a little bit, I'm like, she's a very good actress. Why are you using her for this? But
I'll sprinkle and say that as of the midpoint in the season, we have not seen her yet. So hopefully that's not too much spoilage. I mean,
it's not the end of the world, but
I would find it hard to believe that they're not going to bring the character back because, as we see, that's what is really driving.
It's the driving force.
Ezra. I'm just going to keep calling him Ezra because even though I remember his name, I prefer to refer to another character. Yeah. Just like I think I keep calling Tatiana She-Hulk in all of my notes, even though she's no longer associated with that role, but. It was if you watched She-Hulk and didn't like it, I don't know what to tell you. That show was a lot of fun, and she was great in it.
Yeah. So we have this. We basically get like this drumhead court, kangaroo court sort of thing, where it's they've committed a crime trying to get food. Apparently, some Starfleet officer died in the crossfire. Rosbraka, pirate man extraordinaire, dingbat
Giamatti.
Who plays the role very, very well.
King.
So he got Caleb and his mom into hot water, but then we're going to send him off to prison. Makes sense, but then we're going to send mom off to a rehabilitation. Okay, I mean, it was one crime and there was necessary reasons for it.
Right.
And then we're going to separate her from her child for some reason. Like
that scene. That was... Yeah. It seems a bit far afield. Dramatically, you can obviously see why
that was like the one part that I was just like, I get why you're doing this for story reasons, but I get that like the excuse is, it's the burn, da 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 da, but it was just like, I don't think so. But anyway, moving on to that it was necessary for plot. I get it. So
it was within the realm of possibility. It just wasn't the first option I would have seen.
It was plausible. It was just on the fringe of plausible. It stretched believability for Starfleet.
Right.
Especially with this particular character and what we know of her moving forward. It's just like, that didn't make sense. But they wanted regret and they wanted thought it. Right. There's reasons. So there's eventually Caleb escapes, steals her comm badge. which was quite
He's
funny.
crafty. He's Ezra. What's the name of the damn kid from Aladdin? Is it just Aladdin?
Ali?
It's Aladdin. Yeah.
No. Aladdin is Robin Williams, but the kid.
No, the genie is just the genie. Aladdin is the kid.
Aladdin's the kid.
Yeah.
Like, you see, you guys growing up in that Disney era. I was a teenager when that movie came out. I was, interested in Star Trek.
I was small.
When did that movie come out?
92?
Oh, I wasn't born yet.
Oh my God, you're younger than Peter.
Just barely alive. So he escapes, and then we get 18 years later sort of thing.
Yep.
He is now a hardened criminal,
right?
Basically, who's mainly just trying to find his mom.
Yeah, they tilt a little hard into he gives us kind of some real Shatner moments here. The Academy Award goes to when he says, I'm not your prisoner, before he gets tractored and gets clobbered over the head. Now, he does have some great punch-ups with the guards. They're moving him on this shuttle, and they're taking him from one place to another place. And this was pointed out on something online. One of the guards is an Enterprise throwback to the episode Desert Crossing. The guy who's got, the stuff.
All of them are. That species is a throwback to Enterprise. And the tattoos are something that's part of that. But that whole... planet that race, which I don't remember the name of. The main character was played by Clancy Brown, which Clancy Brown is a legendary actor. And that was a fun episode that if you enjoy seeing our close personal friend, Mr. Trip Tucker with his shirt off, and Scott Bakula as well, you'll be very pleased. But yeah, that's fun. And I think the show does a great deal of that, as we're going to continue to talk about, which is why I dubbed this episode Welcome to the Easter Egg Wall, because it's Easter eggs everywhere. But it's not, it's absolutely, I don't think it's done to the point where it kind of feels like where Star Wars goes wrong a little bit. Like, here, Chewbacca, here's your medal at the end of Rise of Skywalker. It's not quite to the level of member berries, but it's not. Yeah. It's treading dangerously close.
Yeah.
But it's a fine line.
The way they integrate it is much more subtle in that, you wouldn't know that this was from Prodigy if you hadn't seen Prodigy. Like, you'd just think, oh, cool, an alien. Like, it's right
in your face. It's just...
And there's some nice mention. I can't remember if I think it's in this episode when one of our characters is talking to Bob Picardo, who is a member of this cast, and talking about his involvement in Star Trek Prodigy. Knowing that he is a 1,000-year-old character, you can still say, okay, that's a part of his past. You don't really have to know or care so much where the reference comes from. It's just like, well, this guy has a background, and does that mean anything? I don't know. I have the beauty of Google.
Well, evidently it's going to have some sort of effect, because there was quite the reaction.
Right. Yeah, absolutely correct. So, we get, we've jumped forward, and then we get a moment, this kid gets nabbed. The word gets back to Holly Hunter's character, who is a teacher on Bajor. Yes, Bajor is free and has not, the Cardassians didn't come back.
And it's Bajor with plants. So we're not seeing Bajor the desert, which we saw most often in Deep Space Nine. We're seeing Bajor, the, temperate climate where people would live.
I got a little inside baseball here. I wrote down Bajor's given name, which is Behaval or Bahaval, is Bajor 3, and I think you see Bajor 4 and 5 moons in the distance. So that was that was something
I did random thought that made me think of there. I did quite enjoy in the very beginning where they were like, and we're going to go to Sol 3, also known as Earth. I was like, yep, that works.
Yeah, digging deep. Peter and I had a chat about this. I'm Katie about your thoughts of this. The Ezra Caleb kid is very glib with throwing smaller profanities out there. I know my shit. Peter and I said, 1,000 years in the future, don't you think there'd be different swears? Like they could sneak in like they do in like Battlestar Galactica, where they say frack or whatever it is. They could make up some new swears. What's a good swear for shit that's like better than shit? What do you think?
Gosh.
Let's make one up.
As the FCC trains a sniper on me. What would be a good one? See, my immediate default is to cut to Welsh. Just Welsh becomes the common swearing vernacular. So you could be like,
swearing in Latin
or something.
Yeah. What about swearing in Latin, Peter? What's a good Latin swear?
I didn't study a whole lot of Latin profanity, so I would have to go look.
Gotcha.
It
I just
exists.
feel like,
I just don't know a lot of it.
I feel like that would be a good direction.
You either do like ancient, or I mean, for us English speakers, you just use a different language. Make it sound a little different. Mm-hmm. I like TNG season 1. Picard swears in French a couple times.
Sure,
right. There's something that's just a little bit different, but also it's like some of it also has to do with your word choice, because there's different ways to swear to express emotion, and then there's some that are just like, I mean, you can. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with it per se, but it's crass in public.
It's like casual versus purposeful.
Right. And like I want to be clear here, like it's not like you want to be puritanical about it. Like Americans are very puritanical about that, and you don't want to be that way.
Right.
But just being in continuity with what has happened before, it just feels a little strange that we're using a lot of modern.
Yeah, I at least like that, and it's funny, you know, what's old is new. So it's like kids, will behave inappropriately if they're lacking discipline, which obviously this Ezra kid is. So you can see how he might be shooting his mouth off because he's got a chip on his shoulder, and because again, Holly Hunter essentially convinces him to be part of this class because he's actually a wonderkind, of course, because why isn't he not? So it's kind of plot convenient. One kind of stretching moment I thought is that Admiral Vance of Vance Refrigeration, which was a joke. I give homage to my former co-host Rich and Aaron, who came up with that when we were talking about Discovery on this show years ago. It was a good bit. Comes to convince her to come back to Starfleet, and it's kind of the inverse of Janeway going to the penal colony to get Tom Paris to come along on a mission. That's kind of what it made me think of. Yeah, but I think it's a bit of a stretch that she resumes her job, and a day later, she knows everything about her new ship. And it's a little bit too much Michael Burnham, which is like she knows everything about everything, and it always frustrated the shit out of me, even though I've met Sonequa in person. And what a delightful person. That character always frustrated me because she was just it was just too good and knew everything, and just nobody is really like that. And I guess that bugged me a bit. But for the sake of the story, what else could they do, right?
If you want to give benefit of the doubt, you can say, one, we don't know the time frame that happens here, so we don't. I thought
it was one from. It was like a week later, or
I don't think it's quite that short.
At one point, she says 24 hours ago, if you would have told me that I was going to be here.
Exactly.
Okay, so never mind. So ignore that statement. But
okay, great, I will.
But secondly, she's also a Lanthanite, and we don't know. Right. Hug or squat about what precisely what the processing power of Lanthanite.
I could totally see a Lanthanite having photogenic memory?
Yeah, photographic memory, or she plugs chip in. I thought she did mention she was half.
Yes, she's half. Again, when it comes to hybrids,
what's the other half?
It is convenient how the story decides you get traits from different things.
Right, like Deanna Troi, or what we find out about Bezoids a little bit later on in episode 2. Stephen Colbert is the voice of the ship, hands down. Best character that we may never see. Don't care. I worship at the altar of Stephen Colbert. I know, Katie, he was at the blue carpet event because I saw some pictures, and a photographer friend of mine. You got to interact with him. Tell me about Stephen Colbert, please.
Yeah. So, no, it was funny because at the end, we saw him come in, and everyone came in, and I was over in the front on the far left side. And when everyone was getting up to leave, I had these Star Trek friendship bracelets.
I know. I'm waiting for mine in the mail. I'll give you my address.
Yes. Well, it's fun because I was like, okay, I'm gonna shoot my shot. Why not? I know he's a Trekkie, and I want to make sure that he gets a little something for Star Trek. And I tried to catch up with as many people as I could. Yeah. And that includes Gina Yashir, which was awesome because she just posted about the bracelet that I gave her.
I did.
Once you said that, I wondered if that's what that was.
That was me.
Yeah.
But I did the same.
Awesome.
I did the same thing with Steven as he was walking past. He had security guards, and he was, let's go, Mr. President, sort of vibe. But I was walking.
Can you please be our president
in the aisle? Well, it's weird because I was walking past him in the aisle. I just go, oh hey, by the way, I work in local news. Have fun. What did I say? I was like, oh, thanks for being part of Star Trek. And I gave him the bracelet, and he looks at it, and he just takes it, and he just goes, oh my God, you're the best. Thank you. And then he
said local. He said local news, and in Lansing, Michigan, he had no idea where you're in local news.
No idea. So
doesn't matter.
For the local news. Thanks for being in Star Trek. Here you go.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
We can bond over news.
Yeah, I love it. I've been a fan of his forever, and meeting him would be absolutely terrific. So, Bob Picardo, as I'd mentioned, kind of on the scene, he does get a callback to the tricorder, eye roll medical tricorder, which was from the first episode of Voyager. So, nitpick time for me. Why? Because they're obviously, they tweak new uniforms anyway. We have a couple of different varieties. Why can't they simply give every character the shoulder bands and the neck chevrons with the little dots on them, like the captain has, to show the rank? Because ranks, and I'm wearing my Discovery badge with the little dits on them, when you have the badge with the dits on them, drives me up the effing wall. Because you don't know from a distance character's rank. I don't know why they couldn't fix it. I mean, don't you think it'd be, because the next chevron, I used to have that Discovery uniform, and I've kind of burned off some of my uniforms as I've moved from lower grade to higher grade. Katie, I talked to you about cosplay. I would love to point you in the right direction if you're ever looking to go high end. Peter and I are big time cosplay snobs. We don't make any bones about it.
I'm not a snob. People can do what they want, but I like mine to be nice.
We are very snobs within our 2-person community. Peter and myself. We do. We evaluate and share resources with each other, but I just don't know why they couldn't have. I just really hate it, because I would like to be able to look and see that kind of thing. So I guess that's kind of the cadet uniform. On the other hand, best uniform in the show. I like it. It's a jacket, zips up the middle, nice collar. You don't really have to worry about any kind of ranking devices, and then the color piping for the divisions, including Ezra's, which is undecided, so it's gray. It's 2-tone gray because it's gray.
If you look on the side,
it took me a minute to notice that the entire side of it, basically the armpits.
Not gonna lie, that kind of annoyed me. But
okay, what? Why? Tell us why. What's the problem?
Just that. Yeah. Do you remember what my gripe about the Discovery uniforms was? The blue ones.
That
branding? Deltas? Too much branding.
Yeah,
and it was just like, you are an organization. You don't need to have the Nike swoosh on everything.
Right,
that's it.
It reminds me of the line
that's what annoys me.
Yeah, it reminds me of the line from Captain Marvel where Brie Larson says, "So your super secret spy outfit that has all of the branding and the hats and stuff," which is funny because I bought that hat recently to wear it at my medical ball. So it's fine,
and it's not like painful because it's covered by the arm most of the time, so you just kind of see it like in half. But it's just one of those things. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, I hear you. It's at this point that we get the Easter egg wall, and this will be dissected and looked at. It's been dissected since it showed up in a trailer several months ago.
Real characters, there's production people, there's all sorts of stuff.
You got all kinds of great names on there. We don't need to go through those, so on and so forth. But it was funny. I wrote the Athena. The inside of it kind of reminded me of what the deck is like on the Star Trek cruise, which is just 30 days away. I'm so psyched about it. But we've got to get you guys on that. Peter, you and your brother could be cabin mates. Katie, bring a friend. Some year you guys have got to go, because my wife is completely addicted to the Star Trek cruise. Will always go. It's her favorite thing in the whole wide world. But it is the most inclusive fan experience you will in the world, in my opinion. You will never really care about going to another Star Trek con after you go to the Star Trek cruise. I stand on that statement. Oh, well, let's see here. We get our first class bully. There has to be one, right?
Oh, gosh.
Because,
that was one of my only gripes.
What are you doing here, Potter?
Yeah, absolutely. You get and he does has a couple of dudes behind him too, doesn't he?
It's very much that first scene in Sorcerer's Stone. Like it felt very much like that. It was like
Caleb is no Harry Potter. He's like, I'd like to rip your balls off.
I know that you went and watched like school movies and school dramas to kind of get an idea of some of your writing, and you kind of pulled this from
Sweep the Leg Joke
pretty clearly.
Oh my gosh! All right, Katie, what was your gripe?
Oh gosh, mainly that I, as probably one of the people in this fandom who does a lot of streaming and stuff, who's most recently closer to graduating from a school, and it's most recent in my memory, is that they don't act like that. The bullies are more subtle these days. Right. And I imagine in the future they're going to continue to be more subtle.
Psychological destruction. Let's not be physical. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, nitpicking away. We meet our Klingon character whose name I don't remember. He's, you know what? Thank goodness they have the balls to have a different kind of Klingon character. Because Klingon characters are all pretty much the same. They're a warrior race. They behave a certain way. You know, the biggest departure in Klingon lore initially from the original series was Worf, because he was in Starfleet and he wasn't this big boisterous character, blah, blah, blah. But, how kind of disappointed would you be if it was just kind of same old, 1,000 years later? Just the same way when we get the Cadet Master, who is the wonderful actress that you mentioned. She could be the breakout character of the show. She's awesome. Jem'Hadar Klingon with a heavy, almost Liverpudlian-ish kind of accent. I loved it. Peter, I know you had some misgivings, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I think of the character yet. Like,
that's fair.
The acting is fine. Like, I'm not trashing anybody.
Okay.
I don't know what I think of the character yet. And maybe it's just because of the Jem'Hadar and Klingons that I am used to are not nearly as expressive in some of the ways that she is.
Right.
So it's just a little odd to me. Now, again, each character is their own thing. It could grow on me. So I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, like, to me, it was a little strange. Just because you're coming to very, very specific warrior races that have both very rigid codes.
Right.
And then this is like, there's a little bit of that, a little bit of this, but it's a lot of I do my own thing. And so it was because of how my brain works. I'm trying to figure out like how these two cultures mesh in this character, and I haven't figured that out yet.
True. I tend to like to think, and again, this is kind of neither here nor there. You got 1,000 years almost distance and change in a galaxy that's very different because, you have the burn, segregated things, the Federation was on the collapse, blah, blah, blah. And they get a lot more into that in the next episode, that a lot of things that potentially we take for granted about certain races and different things have changed radically. That being said, it doesn't need to go completely off the rails and be like, well, it has no similarities to anything. But yeah, what is a real merging of these two cultures that were, so at odds in the past? Like, what does that?
Yeah, and
really
like I said, there's nothing wrong with it per se. It's just there's just certain things that I'm just not 100% sure on. Could change my mind entirely. Who knows?
It's episodes in, there's definitely space for it to like expand and explore.
Right.
So.
I mean, she hasn't, even as of the first episode, she's not had any kind of breakout storyline. I'll tell you that much. No. So, but there could, I would certainly believe there'd be one in the offing. All right, moving forward in the story, we have, Ezra says, I'm going to take a chance to hijack the communication system because I'm going to try to find my mom and send her a message. Well, that leads the ship to being hacked, and then boom, Paul Giamatti, who has escaped from prison, of course, in the time in between, shows up with a big bagged ship, and it's time for blow him up, punch him up. He launches some programmable matter, covers the ship in goo. Everybody's in trouble. There's an explosion. Our cadet master gets injured, which is kind of crazy because she ends up separated from being able to have the doctor treat her. So our Klingon character and our other character who we've not even talked about, which is a sentient holographic cadet, which is played by Carrie Brooks, who will also, in addition to a character we'll meet in the next episode, will be on the crew. So I'll have a chance to meet her. I'm very excited.
Hey.
But they end up being the ones to treat her. She has a piece of shrapnel in her midsection, which when they do have to finally yank it out to treat it, she's bleeding Ketracel white, which is kind of weird because Klingon blood is pink or red, depending on your continuity, whatever it is, whatever you can get away from the sensors.
Red, yeah.
Yeah, and the blood of the Jem'Hadar is who knows what. But I guess they take in Ketracel white, but it is their blood. So that's a dangerous addiction. Like, it's my blood. I got to put it back in there. But it was just like really like, blah, that's what it looked like. So,
I wonder if they'll get to explain it, hopefully, because I'd love to see them explain it. Like the biology of, they are no longer dependent upon it, but it had altered their blood platelets. So instead of being iron-based, maybe it's a organic compound.
It's a Ketracel-based polymer, yeah, maybe.
Right, and keep in mind that the race is genetically engineered anyway, so changes like that could be
the founders could decide to have mercy and remove the Ketracel problem, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think that's possible. But anyway,
Odo decided, like, this is dumb. Let's stop.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're right. It could have something to do with Odo. She does sneak into Victoria's life, and she gives the I am dead, I go into battle to reclaim My Life, which I love that callback. I love the Jem'Hadar's Erase. That was pretty awesome. Dying really gets the blood pumping eighth, and she shoves the
that was funny. Punches him across the room. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
so
gosh,
I love
we
that.
laughed so hard in the theater when that happened.
Yeah. We do get a big punch up between Ezra and Paul Giamatti because they're obviously at odds anyway. But in the end, obviously, our people are triumphant. The ship is saved. And then Paul Giamatti escapes in an escape pod, a very sneering villain, like, but he's got to.
Literally that shot when he's escaping and then he slaps his hand on the glass in the book.
Nanu.
I was sitting next to a couple of other people and all three of us launched forward in our seats and pointed. We're just like, oh, that was sick. The whole theater, you just lurched forward by 2 feet.
Yeah. I liked the moment after he left where you just see his expression completely change. So that tells me that there's a lot more going on with this character than just simply Snidely Whiplash bad guy. So
right, exactly.
And with Paul Giamatti, the thing that really stood out, and it stands out in all the interviews that he's done, is he wants to be there. He has wanted to be in Star Trek.
So great.
And it's like he's pouring everything he has into this role. And my gosh, does it show with that chemistry? Him and Holly Hunter, holy cow.
Very good.
Oh, and I got to tell you, when we get to episode 6, his inevitable return, you will be blown away by what you see between those two characters.
Nice.
You'll be very, very excited by that. So we wrap up with some stuff I'm not crazy about. The adapting of the If You're Going to San Francisco old hippie song from the 60s drove me nuts because I thought it was a bad cover and I just didn't love the placement. I had my buddy Brian Cole who chirped in this morning and said he's a big fan of the 80s show V, which we talked about on the Patreon once upon a time. And he said, well, I didn't love it how the ship landed and it looked like V. I'm like, dude, that show was from 40 years ago, right? You just got to let it go. Peter and I were very hesitant, and I had to reassure Peter when I first saw this episode that the show does not take place on the ship in its entirety, because the fear was, because even Holly has a line, the school is the ship, because it would be terrible if this was just another ship-based show, but it was also Starfleet Academy as opposed to being in San Francisco. So I'm glad that was resolved. Does the ship come back? Yes, it does, but it is not a major character in the show at this point, which I'm very reassured by. We get the great, she says to him at the, he gets absolved of his crime of causing the whole thing because he did help to, I know we kind of glossed over it, but he does help in the MacGuffin quest to get everything fixed and get everybody rescued.
He for sure pulls a Wesley, but it's a little bit more earned than some early Wesley pulls.
It's smart Alex Wesley.
Yeah. Smart Alex, yes, the smartest of Alex. And he gets the from Holly, don't screw this up, which was the same line that Archer got told in the first episode of Enterprise, which he didn't. And then we wrap up a first episode. So let's do a rating, final note. So Katie, out of 10, where do you land with this episode?
Ooh, gosh. See.
We can come back to you, Peter.
Yes, come back to me.
I would probably give this an 8.
Okay, as did I.
Which, if you've heard me rate newer stuff, that's pretty dang high.
True, very true. And
I liked it. I thought it did a lot of good things. For those who care, I was not sitting cringing in my seat, which happens with some other stuff. So that gave that is points in the right direction.
Right, I absolutely agreed.
I've decided.
Okay, all right. Ping pong back to Katie, and then I'll wrap it up before we move on to episode 2. Katie!
7.75 minus the 0.25 purely because of the bullying scene.
Oh, you're right.
As perpetually bullied individual, it doesn't happen like that.
And it's funny because I mentioned tropes as well. So I was a solid 8 out of 10 for this. I said, there's going to be tropes. This is a franchise which is now 60 years old, and it's analogous to the South Park episode where they say the Simpsons did it first. Star Trek is going to be the snake that eats its own tail. There's no way that it can't be self-referential, but also pull in other tropes from other types of shows. This is a portion of this is a teen drama. There's going to be teen drama tropes. Katie, you mentioned, yes, the bullying part of it is like, they leaned a little too hard. The tropes don't drag it down. It succeeds in spite of those tropes. We have a show, Tawny Newsome, who I adore, We'll see her again on the cruise next month. I've met her before. She is as irreverent in person as she is in any kind of appearance. Is a writer on this show. She has an episode coming up where she's a little bit more directly involved. I will say no more because I just don't want to spoil it for you guys. But we've reached the point where, and Katie made the great point, Paul Giamatti loves Star Trek and wants to be there. Tawny loves Star Trek, is a Star Trek actor, is now writing, grew up loving DS9 just like all of us, and wants to do this. And we're finally seeing what that really looks like. They're doing different, but they're not doing it for different sake and then throwing everything else in the bin. They're finding ways, new focus, a new take, new characters. This is potentially taking the lead of one of my favorite, maybe my favorite installment of the newer wave of Trek. I might like this more than Strange New Worlds. I'm not sure. I think I might, which is weird.
I think it surpassed Strange New Worlds.
Pilot-wise, for sure, it was better.
Yeah, exactly. So I, and Strange New Worlds also leaned really heavily into being a prequel, which, as Peter and I talked about and has been talked about on many of our shows, prequels are very dangerous because
very tricky.
They're tricky and you can get it wrong. And Strange New Worlds has been getting it wrong, particularly the way the fan base feels in season 3. There was a lot of wrong. This has propelled us out of being a prequel, and I think it really sets it up for more success. So I'm enthused. And again, I watched this probably 2 months ago for the first time, but I watched it again yesterday to do the notes watch, and I was surprised how much more I loved it. And it makes me more sad that there are people out there that are not getting it. There is a person in my local community who I follow his stuff on Facebook, who is a massive cinephile, loves movies, trashed it when the first poster came out, and then trashed it when this came out. And I'm like, I think some people just can't move on. Not everything is going to be Rick Berman era Star Trek. That was 30 years ago. We have to move this ball further down.
There's good reasons for it to not be Rick Berman's Star Trek too. Is everyone looks back on it with rose-colored glasses? Is like there were some major issues, and that's why I like watching The Center Seat because you end up seeing these things, and you're like, okay, no, it wasn't all glam and perfect, and there were things that were behind the scenes and on camera that were a little touchy. So
I mean, they did some
legacy of that.
Yeah, they did some good things, and I think even the first season of TNG is a great example. Based on our upcoming conversation with David Gerald, which you'll be hearing here pretty quickly, is that in spite of it, sometimes they still manage to make great stories. But anyway, let's move on and talk about episode 2. And again, this is a king-sized episode for you, so thanks for hanging in there with us. But we just have a lot to talk about. Episode 2 is. I know. Episode 2 is called Beta Test, with the start of the new academic year. Caleb's unease about his future at Starfleet Academy persists. But when a delegation from a former Federation ally arrives, and Caleb is tasked with showing the leader's daughter around campus, nothing going to go wrong there. He must put his uncertainty aside to discover what life at the Academy is all about.
Shout out for the name of this episode. Great episode name.
Yeah. Beta Test. So we begin with kind of a wink and a nod to something silly. You've got Bob Picardo. I just call him Bob Picardo just because I've met him a couple times, and I love that he goes by Bob because that's what my dad goes by. He's also a Robert. Teaching a xenobiology class about the self-replicating mucus. Kind of reminds you of like that old trope of like here's a bag of flour, you got to raise it for a week, like in home ec, not home, like the old trope in sociology or whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about? If it kills you, you fail the class. So that's kind of fun to get things rolling. We quickly introduce something that I love, which is the War College. So that's kind of cool. Now, one thing, if you're familiar with Discovery season 3, which is when the show for me really kind of started in a lot of ways, because I put a lot of ignore on Discovery seasons 1 and 2. Peter and I didn't love the show anyway, but I feel like when they got it right, they did it once it wasn't a prequel anymore. That's kind of my opinion. Is that we found out that Earth was called the Earth Confederacy or whatever it is. It lived behind a shield, and they had their own military, which was trained somewhere besides Starfleet Academy because it was maintained that Starfleet Academy as facility was shut down. I can't recall if the actual facility was being used, so I take that back. But what was Starfleet became a militaristic defense force trained by this war college. I think that's what's established here. They get cool uniforms. They've got different ranks. They've got a different badge, which I can't wait to.
I think it's also the war college was also, there was a branch in Starfleet itself to train the new recruits, because the academy didn't exist, but like you still had Starfleet officers.
Okay. Gotcha. But yeah, I can't wait for our buddies at Fansets to make us some of these new badges, because
they are pretty
cool.
Yes. Yeah, I know Lou, and I've met him in several days. He's a super nice guy, Lou and his wife. Shout out to Fansets. Looking forward to that. But yeah, we get some more scenes with Cadet Master. I just like to call her Cadet Master because it's a great name, though I don't always remember the name of the characters. That'll get easier as time goes by. She's awesome. Sorry, she knocks Bob Picardo out of the box as being my favorite character so far. This gas. So yeah, she's yelling at the cadets at one point. I ding a point for what I consider to be one of the laziest production things, when you have a pouring rain shot in a wide shot that's obviously from a machine, a water generating machine, yet it's extremely bright sunshine in the rest of it. Katie, I know it happens, but does it happen often enough that it would be a thing you'd see? I just don't feel like clouds. Tell me.
Well, as a meteorologist in the chat, I must say, it does happen. We actually have them in Michigan. We have lake effect snow showers that do the same thing. You can get in Florida, especially, rain showers where they're very pinpoint and it's sunny all around. It happens. It definitely looks odd, though. And even as you experience it in real life, you're like, this isn't what's supposed to happen. So it's an interesting choice visually, but it's within the realm of possibility.
They could just kind of correct that, whatever it is. But again, yeah, I'm picking. We got our opening credits for the first time, because I think in the first episode they just had a fluttering flag. They said Starfleet Academy. But what's great is that first visual, which is like, it's a rock and then a plane starts to grow out of it. It's Ilea's theme from Star Trek The Motion Picture.
Yep.
Oh,
so cool.
TMP gets no love. Peter and I talk about this all the time. And the center seat really revealed to us how pivotal that film really was, even though people crap on it all the time. I still love it. We happen to we happen to getting our first live action Exocomp since 1993, which got a name.
Live action. It's completely CGI, but it's in a live action. But it's
not in a cartoon, because we had a fully fleshed out
and
character.
And its name is Almond, apparently, keeping in the sort of weird nut-based names.
Yeah. Base name. Peanut. What about somebody who has an allergy? I don't know. That's not.
Then you need soy nut hamper. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. One note, and then I'll kick it over to you guys, because I know I'm doing a lot of talking. The looking for Ezra's mom issue continues. Holly Hunter says the planet doesn't exist, and I said, sure it does. It's 12 parsecs outside the Rishi Maze. Right, Peter? Right.
Yep.
Oh my God. All right, Katie, take over, please.
Oh gosh, yeah, no, this episode, it was nice because I went to a specialized school for math and science in high school for half of the day. And this felt very much like stepping into the math and science center, because you're just like, I had a teacher who was like that, and I had a teacher who was like that. And so I'm like, okay, cool. This fits with my lived experience, and I could relate to it better. And I found myself laughing out loud so many times.
I love it.
I like the xenomythology one where you had Dareem and Caleb going, is there one about like this wonderkin who just like gets everyone in trouble because his mom? What about a fish boy who has a small thing? It's like, oh, come on. It's like,
and this is just like,
it's teens being teens.
And the teacher's just like, no.
He almost looks like, what's his face, who just left SNL, the Asian actor.
Oh,
that's who the Vulcan almost looks like. Well, he almost looks like Bone Yang, but he's not.
Kind of looks like Bone Yang.
He's like discount Bone. He's
I just
like Canadian Bone
how
Yang.
It's like, we don't have the death penalty yet.
Yeah, right.
It's like, you guys better shape up, or you're going to have some problems.
Well, spectacular. There's a spectacular return of Tig Notaro as Jet Reno. Yes. I feel like she's written better in this than she was in Discovery, because she's funnier. Yeah. But the writing on Discovery, I feel like, you know what? I don't want to turn this into a Discovery trash fest. But this makes it easier to forget. Even though Discovery gets a name drop, and that continues to kind of be hinted about.
They brought back one of my favorite characters, Admiral Vance. So
I like Vance.
He was done really well.
Definitely one of my favorites. Quickly introduced to what I like to call the ingenue, which would be our Betazoid character, played by Zoe Steiner, who will again be on the cruise. Looking forward to meeting her. She seems delightful. But she is are they teeing up? And again, Ezra's way too much of a bad boy, but they're kind of creating our Troy and Riker for the 32nd century. In name only, really, because Caleb, he's a human, right? I mean, he's not from Earth, but he's like a human.
I think so.
As far as we know.
Unless we're going to get like a surprise, you're part...
Prophet, you're Ben Sisko's great grandson.
Or, you're the son of surprise. We imported something from Marvel. You're part planet. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Oh, you're actually Thanos' 18th cousin, 14 times removed. I'm going to kind of call an audible on her outfit. She's wearing disco pumps with a hollowed out heel, like the kind like a pimp would wear, that maybe there'd be like a goldfish swim in them. I thought that was a weird choice. But again, it's the 32nd century. You don't know what people are going to wear.
Well, but to play devil's advocate, the Betazoids have a very strange sense of style as it is.
Right.
Yeah. Just go look at Loxana Troy and you're like, what?
That's very
true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's talk about I'm going to get bad language. What a fucking asshole that head Betazoid guy was. What was going on with him? He was like, I'm king shit. I'm going to take a chance to basically rub the Federation's nose in the fact that they want us, but we don't want them. What a jerk. I mean, he was the bully. He was the bully in this episode.
International politics and negotiating, though. Like I was watching, I was like, this fits. Like, this is accurate. He's a jerk face. But I totally get it. Like, this is how these things work.
Well, and you can kind of understand where he's coming from too, just from a sense of like, oh yeah, you had to live through this, and yeah, I understand this, and that's part of what made it feel really Star Trek-y to me. Not to like leap ahead or anything, but like this episode shows, you have international diplomacy, intergalactic diplomacy. And no, you aren't going to get all that you want. Neither of you are. It's called compromise. And in the world that we live in, there is no compromise, because if you do, it's a sign of weakness. And so it's nice to see that they're bringing it back in the future, at least, where we understand where they're coming from. We want them to agree with us on some things. How about we compromise? You forget Paris. You can have this. Like, it was so refreshing.
The art of the possible. I did like to jump ahead that, when this does conclude, that, part of what they're going back and forth about is like, where's the new Federation capital going to be? Because, now that the burn is over, we're rebuilding the Federation, is that it does end up being on Betazoid, which I think is absolutely an interesting bit. Shout out to San Francisco. We see that Alcatraz is still around because we get that roaming shot that moves onto the Presidio, where the Academy campus has always been. But humpback whales, descendants of George and Gracie. That was like, I really feel Tawny's fingerprints all over this. I don't know how much of it really is, or just my overwhelming affection for her work kind of reflects upon that. But I do like it how, and again, I'll just refer to her as Zoe because that's the actress's name, how she wears this neural inhibitor because she's too much of a Betazoid. She's like the Jean Grey Dark Phoenix of Betazoids. And I'm not going to say that it's coming up about what that's going to mean, but if
it doesn't, it would be a very poorly placed Chekhov's gun.
It would be a big
I've seen a lot of like discourse online. People are like, oh, she's too Betazoid. What does that mean? Oh, and I'm just like, we have some people in our society who are very intelligent or have like ridiculous strength or like these increased abilities. It would make sense that genetically somewhere, somehow a Betazoid would have increased mental capacity.
It's that also would appeared in other stories before, like not necessarily in like with the Betazoids, but there have been characters who've had to have dampers and not just in Star Trek. So it's not outside the realm of possibility. I get, to be fair, I get the why does everyone have to be like uber amazing and special idea. I get that, but to say like, oh, it doesn't make sense. No, it makes sense.
It can be the show is gonna dance in the, because I'm a Mythbusters fan. You have confirmed plausible and busted. I think this show is gonna dance on the realm of plausible because that's where they haven't played as much in Star Trek. So it's nice to see that they're trying to wiggle that space around.
Yes, I absolutely agreed. I do love, and I noticed this not only in the last episode with the way that Holly is cooling it in her chair, reading a book.
My gosh,
she's wearing glasses. Got that Rednax 5 allergy. Apparently, that's still a thing 1,000 years in the future. Got to break out those glasses.
I have mixed feelings about lounging in the captain's chair on the bridge. Like
it's a bit
terribly wrong. It's just I don't know.
It's different.
If they're on a mission, I could see her being like, I don't want to be cooped up in a ready room. I want to be
not on a mission, but it's like, it's just one of those, like, over the last, like, all of the shows, the bridge is a very formal place, and having military people in my sphere that I deal with, it just seems very odd. It's a choice. Fine. I'm not going to bash it too much. But since it's a podcast and I can give my opinion, I don't know.
I've rationalized it in my brain is because if Pelia were to have a captain's chair, she would have done the same thing. So like maybe it's just a Lanthanite thing.
Could be cultural. Could be cultural.
Pelia could totally. Pelia would be hanging upside down from her chair that she's changed gravity on it or something.
Like a bat. Yeah, I do also like how on the bridge it doesn't seem like it's as dark as it used to be. Maybe Starfleet decided to reinvest in some more light bulbs, which I think is not a bad thing.
Well, at least nothing makes me more frustrated. Face, like in Discovery and the Kelvin verse, because it was like
getting very JJ.
People can't see me, but I'm like violently gesturing with my pointer fingers. Yes, at the screen.
Yes, it's good. It's good to have light. Holly also, at the fancy reception, she's still wearing the loungewear. There's a scene where she's not wearing shoes, and the guy from the War College is absolutely getting in her Kool-Aid about it.
I thought that was funny because I sit there and like, I hate shoes. If I could get away with the excuse that she used, I would totally do that. Except I would get crucified.
And the War College's guy's like, well, you might stub your toe and but it's like, dude, fuck off. I guess
get a splinter. Guess what? I have a holographic doctor who can appear instantly, and he will take care of it.
He'll be my splinter guy.
Or the way that we use these willy-nilly, I'll just step through the transporter and beam it out of my foot.
Yeah, right. They do. Right. That was something I missed in episode 1. Caleb is bitching about his outfit and his haircut. And then he walks through a wall and he's in the cadet outfit with the haircut. And I'm like, a shave and a haircut isn't even 2 bits anymore. You just walk through a transporter and be like, oh, I can't make time for my haircut this month. Bloop, I'm good. Time to get rid of the beard for summer. Bloop, it's gone.
Man, Mr. Mott will be so sad, though.
I know.
My first thought was, oh no, what happens to Mr. Mott? Although, I prefer the aesthetic of going into a hairstylist.
Right, there you go. Yes,
much
exactly.
More comfy.
No doubt about it. But I lots of back and forth with Zoe and Ezra. They're kind of, they've got the teenage vibe. And again, keep in mind, they're not really teenagers. They're early 20-somethings, but they got the teenager vibe.
I thought it was fine. Some people are like hating on it. I thought it was fine. So.
It's what the characters are. Their whole bit about they're in the like Maynard Turner Hall or whatever, and this is not a character that's real, but they're making up this whole backstory, and that's the end of the line where he gives her the whole speech, which I absolutely love, because the Betazoids throw their hands up, they're going to leave, and as they're going, she and Ezra have a fight, but he's like, I got to put it back together. He gives her this whole speech. She's got a great line. The Federation is the villain in my story too, which really cuts to the core, and you can see the way it is with the Betazoid as well. But he gives this whole speech, and he said, for the love of God, if you won't do it for me, do it for Turner. Which I just thought was so great.
I think I actually laughed out loud at that.
Yeah, that was good. And it was just, that's what blossoming romance is like, the little inside jokes that grow along and all the different stuff. It just feels that much more real. So I was pretty psyched about that. Zoe does have a brother who also, so at the end of it, Zoe comes to she's like, I'm going to be a student too, but she goes to the War College, but her brother instantly is like super bro, and now he's the third roommate with Caleb and the bully. So I'm like,
they need to write him well, because he could be Sokka or he could just be terrible.
No, I need him to be Sokka so badly, because he could pull it off.
I don't know Sokka, so
Avatar: The Last Airbender. He is the non-magical character who is just sarcastic as all get out and hilarious.
Muggle, gotcha. His name is Occam. Is that like Occam's razor, which I know is a thing that I'm not currently remembering?
Occam's razor is a thing. I don't see the spelling of that character's name. Okay, actually, it is.
I heard Occam.
I'm almost certain that is a reference, because Occam is spelled very, very similarly.
Okay.
Like the actual person. Occam's razor is like the simplest explanation.
Oh, he's the simplest explanation. Yeah. There you go. That's why he's such a bro. And they end the line ending it, "Let's make a fort, guys."
That was great. Because that would have been me in college. I got my friends together and we watched Thomas and the Magic Railroad one night, freshman year. Like, it's what happens in college.
Yeah, I love it. Let's make a fort. So for me, 9.5 out of 10. This was an absolutely terrific episode. Points deducted for the opera. I'm sick of the opera stuff. Bob, I love you. I'm sorry. The opera stuff is nails on chalkboard.
I liked that.
Okay.
I liked the opera. I also, as a side visual note, the alien that he's singing with is from Star Trek Beyond.
Oh, yeah, the one that hides the MacGuffin.
No, not the MacGuffin. She's the one that Chekhov is flirting with in the last scene.
Oh, very interesting.
Deep cut, but I thought, that's kind of a nice little reference.
Way to go, Peter. Funny. But Zoe, Ezra, the Betazoids being nasty, they find a solution to move things forward. Intro of the War College, which is just, I like, because Peter and I we're both military guys. So that's family in family, and so like a big part of it for me. Lot of threads that came together, but also pushed us forward in the future. So putting the two episodes together, like I said, I see the same vitriol online that Katie, you're tied in the fan community. Peter, you read plenty of stuff as well. You know, I said this, and again, I mentioned my friend Brian, who had a gripe. He's like, I'm just not really digging it. But I said, you know what? I'm not gonna rank on you for your choice. If you don't like it, entertainment is there to entertain. And if you watch it and you don't like it, feel free not to like it. But to have a platform, which everybody does, social media, to go on and crap all over it, I don't agree with that. Yeah. If you like it, like it. If you're critical and have notes, but if you can find something good, for me personally, Star Trek has always been about finding something good. I can find something good in Discovery. There's something. When they jumped forward in the third season and created the setting of this show, that was a good thing. Liked it. Didn't mean that I ended up liking the show. Didn't mean that I ended up liking the writing and the direction that it took, and some of the characters drove me nuts. But I think they did I found something good in it. You know what I mean? So hate things if you hate. Don't yuck other people's yum. That's all I'm going to say.
No, but that's a bit of a teaser ahead for something. Please. I'm doing a TikTok hopefully this week about how Star Trek is like cheese, and I think it'll really help some of the naysayers be quiet.
Please feel free to give us a plug. We want your listeners to know that you're on the show. Plug. Yes, exactly. Synergy. All right. Ratings around. Katie, where do you land this episode, and where do you land the overall?
I give this episode probably a 9, mainly, and they got a bonus bump because they didn't focus on the trope of horny college kids. That was one of the things that I had the fear of going into it, and especially with the posters of oh gosh, everyone's going to get with everyone. It's going to be I mean, and it's going to be fair, booty time. Next Generation pretty much started out with that too. So I'm like, okay, they've done it before.
Just watched that episode the other day.
But bonus points for them being like, all right, cool, don't do that for the next 6 months. I'm like, sweet. If nothing else, we've kicked the can down the road.
Right.
We get a little bit of time where it's just Star Trek.
Right. Spoiler, the next one has 6 months later.
Yeah, right. I didn't mention actress Bella Shepherd, who is Genesis, who is a Michigan native. She is from Oakland County. Recently did an interview with our correspondent and my friend Kurt Krug, which appeared in the Oakland Press. If you're a reader of that, go find that. We're hopeful to have her on for an interview. I'm working on it, just because Kurt kind of tipped me off. So I'm talking to the people at CBS. I'm hoping to have her on our show, on our Spotlight segment, which if you don't listen to, those come out every Friday. We have a different creator, actor, whatever it is, et cetera, ranging from comics, TVs, movies, Star Trek, Star Wars, et cetera, et cetera. We'd love to have you tune in. Peter, where do you land with this episode and with both, if you're wrap it up in a neat little bow?
I would probably give this one an 8.5, 8.75, somewhere in there. I kind of bumped it down a little bit for this may sound terrible, but the fact that the Betazoids were using sign language instead of telepathy.
I struggled with the translation matrix because at the end,
especially because he could speak, and it just
pops it loose, and he says something in English that sounds like a little bit like someone speaking it as a second language. He goes, he says it in a little bit of a different way, but they speak English to each other, and you never hear telepathy one time, do we? Even when they're speaking to each other.
Could the telepathy be because of the neural inhibitor? If it's set so high that she no longer can do telepathic communication?
She can't, but for her, I'm saying the other, they do that. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know.
Right, like if the father was to talk to the son, why isn't it telepathic? Because they're full telepaths. Now, Deanna Troi was an empath because she was half human.
She could still communicate telepathically with her mother if her mother initiated. So it's just, again, it's one of those things that it didn't feel like it needed to be there. It was a little strange.
Right.
I wonder if there will be an explanation for it.
I hope there is, but I'm just saying that's my gut instinct. So it kind of knocked down for that. And then, as interesting as it was, having very sensitive negotiations in front of a gaggle of children, for lack of a better term. The cadets, they're not children, but they are baby officers. They're not like having them learn, like if you had them behind like a observation window, I would be more okay with that. But it's like, we're just going to do it as if we're doing a TED Talk together, but we're actually doing negotiations. That was just a weird choice.
I agree. It was something that, you wouldn't think it would happen.
So like, for me, it was mostly knocked down because of some of the nitpicky, like, I don't think that's how these things work in real life.
Right.
But overall, I liked like the vibe and everything and how it worked, and like introducing us to how the school worked, some of the characters like joshing with each other, causing trouble, you have a roommate now. Oh, no. Like, that was great.
Yeah, right.
So like, there's a lot of fun stuff in this, but but overall, I'm having a good feeling about it. We'll see. We know that I tend to be a little bit on a little bit more critical side, so we'll see what happens as it goes on.
I agree. Yeah, and there's going to be duffers that you don't necessarily like it. Something that I like, my last thought is that they're using this as a springboard where they can create a universe of shows from this, because you're going to have characters that can move forward into different shows. You're having different ancillary characters that can have different roles and other things in the future. So I feel like this is a great, for me, this could even be something where you steer a brand spanking newbie down who's never seen Star Trek before and let them watch this for the first time and let it be an introduction. What do you think? There's not the baggage there, I don't think.
Yeah.
Like a prequel, shit ton of baggage, which that's the biggest part of, Lower Decks it's an adultish comedy with a lot of Easter eggs, but it's it's a zany comedy. And so some ways, maybe yes, maybe no. I feel like you could take an uninitiated individual and kind of plunk them in front of this and get them started. Does that seem crazy?
It works for my mom, and she enjoys the show so far. So yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I'll try to get my folks to watch it. My folks are OG Trekkies from the 60s. So I'm going to get my mom in front of this and kind of get her thoughts. So, well, cool. Let's move it along. Wow, we talked nearly an hour about this, which I think is totally awesome. Yeah, I love it. But let's jump back into the center seat.
Do we want to catch our quick comments from socials first?
Oh, God, thank you so much. Let me steer back. We're going to back it up. We do have some comments from the socials, Peter. Thank you very much, because I was on a different document, so I had to navigate back. I did post the question across our Discord, Facebook, threads, blah, 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 blah. We heard back from our friend Tracy Lee Coco, who is the background actress, Lieutenant J from Star Trek The Next Generation. She loved Holly Hunter and would love to have a cameo on an episode, smiley face, hashtag bring back Lieutenant J. Okay. Not pointed at all, but you know what, Tracy, I love you, and thank you for tuning in. Tracy was a guest on Spotlight some months back. My friend from Norway, Andy, who, Katie, you also know her.
Yes.
But she's been on the show a couple of different times, is going to be on some other stuff. She's going to be working with Peter and I talking about Spider-Man movies as the year goes on, as we get close to the movie this summer. Andy had to say, overall, very promising start. I loved Holly Hunter as Captain Aki, Picardo as the Doctor, is always awesome. Paul Giamatti is here to have fun, and no one can stop him. It's a good point. I do want to get to know the kids better. The action in the first episode and more character focus in the second shows the potential range of storytelling for the series. I'm definitely interested to see how it develops. That's very well-rounded. Yeah. And I snagged this one this morning, and I mentioned it earlier, Fabian Nicienza, who is an author. He's been on our Spotlight, but he is a legendary comic book scribe, including some issues of the Marvel Comics Star Trek line in the late 1990s, which I loved when I was in college, and just somebody who's always loved Star Trek. Solid start and a nice introduction to the young characters. My usual new Trek, N-U-T-R-E-K, which is an expression I don't love, but that's okay. Complaints about too much VXF saturation. I think that's valid. Too large of a bridge crew cast. And bad action directing remain. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to more. I think those are valid. I don't necessarily share them all. I do like less VFX than more VFX, but I kind of see where he's coming from. But
when we're talking about VFX, I think we're talking about computer generated, because there's to nitpicks, everything is visual effects.
That's a very good point. But I like that we got folks from the younger Andy's younger, Fabian and Tracy are our age and older. So I like it that kind of all walks of life are enjoying this program. All right, now we can move on to the center seat. We're going to be talking about episodes 7 and 8. Keeping in mind, you can watch this, as I'd mentioned in the past, on Amazon Prime, Peacock, Roku channel, and others. I started watching it on Nacelle's YouTube channel, which I have YouTube Premium, which means no commercials, which is definitely pivotal.
It's the only way to watch YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what? I pay the money because I'm like, who isn't using YouTube every day for something? I challenge someone to say, I don't even my dad watches pickleball videos on YouTube all day. You know what I mean? I hope he has YouTube Premium, because my dad hates commercials more than anyone who's ever lived. And he was married. His ex-wife was an executive at an advertising firm. So that's funny to me. Let's see here. All right, we'll start with episode 7, Dancing with Syndication in the Pale Moonlight. Nice. After Gene Roddenberry's death, Trek ventured into yet another incarnation. Deep Space Nine was different from its predecessor, set on a space station. Its 1993 debut featured an African-American captain and a heavy serialized story arcs, both first. This was new Trek, that's NEW Trek. Let's get it started. Katie, talk to me about episode 7.
Honestly, I just love the Deep Space Nine deep dives. And what really stands out is like getting to see the behind the scenes stuff that comes into it. Because, I'm a Star Trek fan. We're all Star Trek fans. You go to conventions and you get to hear the actors' take of things. But to hear the takes of people from behind the scenes, seeing how it was going as it was evolving. I mean, you had a show with a ship already, so they wanted a show with a space station because who can keep track of 2 ships at the same time? Like,
what? It's completely
our
insane.
Audience is not as smart.
That's annoying. Like, we can't have another ship because, my God, how will they ever know?
But to be fair, just to point out, that seemed to be higher up suits rather than like Berman and those who are involved in directly
non-creatives, which we always know is the death of it. And I did write that with Gene Roddenberry dead, Star Trek is now in the hands of Rick Berman. I wrote, "Your Dark Overlord, Rick Berman." I will mention that this kicked off with the quote, and again, this is narrated by Gates McFadden, Dr. Crusher, delightful woman. Often running, she said, Paramount did what any studio would do with their cash cow, and you hear milk it for all it's worth.
She is so good at delivering sassy lines.
She is a sassy gal. She is. I like it. So Peter, you and I are probably of the like mind that DS9 is the top of the mountain. It is Trek's best. I don't know that anything will ever dislodge that. And of course, I'm also coming from a very biased perspective of having watched it from the beginning, being an older Trekker. Katie, where do you land with what you think Trek has accomplished as far as what's number 1 for you? Series-wise.
Oh, gosh. Series-wise, probably Voyager.
Okay. All right.
Closely followed by DS9 and Next Gen. Like, those 3 collectively, I feel like they're triplets. What is it? Fraternal triplets. or whatever, where they're slightly different, but they all are of the same stock. So,
well, Peter has a identical twin, but you guys are not super duper alike, but alike enough. So it's maybe it's Peter's twin. I have those same three as my top three. They're just jumbled for me.
Yeah,
DS9, TNG. Maybe I'm not so sure about Voyager because I go back and forth with.
Well, it changes
with
on
TOS
recency too, of like which one have I been watching the most.
Yeah, Peter, are we somewhat similar? I know you're a big TOS guy.
I'm a big TOS guy. Yeah,
Nice.
Hilariously, like for me, it's kind of. I actually don't really know where things fall particularly because for the longest time TNG was my top one because I grew up on TNG. So kind of at this point it kind of flip flops, but actually closer to the top for me is Enterprise.
Okay, that's right because it was the one that you grew up with watching.
I watched Enterprise when I was a senior in college. Because
okay. I was just thinking time-wise.
No, it would have made sense for me to grow up with it, but I did not. I did not have the television, and so I watched it. I watched it when I could, but I was also one of those guys who was like, "This doesn't make sense continuity-wise," and then I watched it. I was like, this works.
Yeah. 100 years is a long time.
So for those of you who think that my mind cannot be changed, it was.
Right. And who knows? Maybe we'll all come out saying, no, Starfleet Academy is number one forever. I don't know about that. I loved seeing the fingerprints of show contributor and Spotlight guest Larry Nemeczek all over this. I had a little bit of back and forth with him over Messenger. He's the greatest. And it was funny. He told me early on when we first talked about this, he says, I went for one and they just kept calling me back. Aww. And he laughed and he said, yeah, the budget was low. It's why they kept having me back as opposed to other people. Though there was a lot of great interview talent in both of these. Berman was there. Ron Moore was back time and again. And I'm like, oh God, I want to
two different interviews though.
So yeah, you're right. Yeah, exactly. But, Jerry Taylor is in there and you've got our friend Andre Boreamis, who is also on Spotlight. I sent him a message this morning. I said, love seeing your face. Hope everything's going good. They do make the obligatory Kardashian and
gosh,
part of that joke. It's unavoidable.
It's a great joke, but my gosh, it's overused.
They got to pitch this because again, the thing that I love about this documentary more than stuff that you'll see the very highly sanitized, like this was our show. It's like the TNG one we found that was vintage with Frakes. And I want to put Frakes down. Was obviously very studio driven. Where this is, this is driven by these are but they dig deep, but they don't go kind of too far. Like they don't get so much into what happened to Terry Farrell, which is an ugly story for a different time. But they kind of gloss over that and say, "Oh, it was contract negotiations and yada yada yada." Yes, but we all really know it was more than that. Yeah. It was a yes, but. And I love the story about Renee and Nanaz auditions. We've had Nanaz.
That was hysterical. I hadn't heard that story before.
She is a singular individual. Peter, this made me think of you because they talked a lot about J. Michael Straczynski in Babylon 5, and that contrast. And they brought in. I brought in. Oh, that's good. They brought in Doug Drexler to fix it, which Doug has also been a guest on the show and is a very unique individual. So, Doug says so. Doug says so. It's fixed. I loved all the concept drawings. The last one of DS9 that you really see is clearly done by a dot matrix printer, which as a 90s kid just made me smile. But they go through the show. It couldn't find a foothold. The first season's sputtered. It was the most expensive pilot of all time at $12 million. So the rest of the season, it was a lot of bottle shows, which just really threw fuel on the fire of people bitching about, it's the station that goes nowhere.
When I watched it the first time, granted I was watching it later, but when I watched the first season the first time, that didn't bother me. Maybe it's because I was watching it in more of a binge form, which as Nanam mentions later, like streaming is more what Deep Space Nine is suited for.
Right.
But so to me, it was like, it didn't bother me, but I'm also coming from like, it's a space station. I don't care. I know it's on a space station.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah. You're one of those people that could handle two shows.
I watched the entirety of Babylon 5, which is a lot on a space station.
They don't even have a ship going around in Babylon 5, do they?
Or it's not get ships later. There's a war.
Right. Right, exactly. And that's exactly what happens here. They, in season 3, they're like, we got to give them a ship. We tried this shit with no ship, and people will not watch the show. So let's give them a fancy warship. It's got Gatling guns, and it's like pew pew pew.
I think giving them a bigger ship rather than just the runabouts was a good choice anyway, because the runabouts kept getting blown up. It was like, give me something a little beefier.
A runabout is like 2 shuttlecraft, and shuttlecraft suck. So you got to do something. Yeah. So they did that, and then going into season 4, they're like, we really need to pump things up. Let's bring in Worf. Everybody loves Worf. Let's change Captain Sisko to look like he did in Spencer for Hire when he was Hawk.
I thought that commentary was interesting, because I hadn't really thought about that. Where it was just like, this is his hero look. It's like, that explains why they did it. He does honestly look better without the hair.
Oh, absolutely. He looks like what Sisko becomes, which is the most rugged badass captain there is.
Well, what's funny is, as a kid, I knew DS9 existed. Like, I'd seen clips of it on TV, just walking past a little baby Katie. I thought they were 2 separate people. I did not realize that.
He looks so different.
Oh.
Right. It's the same outfit, but except for they got rid of those terrible purple undershirts. They had those purple undershirts for like season 3 in the first season of Voyager. They were like, it's too purple. So they kind of dialed it back. And DS9 did invent the 2-piece jumpsuit, which is the most photographed Starfleet uniform of all time, because it was on all 7 years of Voyager. It was on just over 5 seasons of DS9, and then it was in Star Trek Generation. So it's the most worn uniform, and the most casual one that looks the most comfortable as a cosplayer. It's the most comfortable.
No, you can take that top off and just be like, oh, I can breathe.
Yeah, exactly. Or you can give it a little zip down too, so
go with
the less formal look. So but yeah, they walk through creative. So Michael Piller left this to move over to Voyager, which is what we'll talk about as we get into that. But then Ron Moore came over when TNG ended, and Ron Moore, as I said, if I wore if there's altars that I worship at, Stephen Colbert is one, but Ron Moore is the other. I'm such an enormous fan, and we have been lobbying for over a year to get him on Spotlight, and I'm not giving that one up. So I would like to say we will have him on the show at some point. But because he's an amazing creative. I'm just an enormous fan of what he does, and then having Worf Dorney on board really spiced things up. And then we get into the Dominion War, and we get into In the Pale Moonlight, which is what was referenced in the name of the episode. The first, disinformation. This was a few years before, the war in Afghanistan, which is famously, weapons of mass destruction and making up things that will get people all riled up, or so the story goes. Not to get political, but that was, a fact of the time.
I thought it was funny how they were like, "So you're a Batman fan, right?" He's like, "No, it's just a saying," and it turns out it was from Batman the Animated Series, which I thought was really, really funny. I was like, "Oh,
yeah,"
and you just see him go, "Oh, it was. Oh well,
yeah." Yeah. And then Peter, you make a good point. When the series does come to an end, still, in my opinion, what you leave behind is the greatest finale of all Trek finales, I think. Though everybody has
think All Good Things is the best, but that's me.
But again, that show continued where DS9 did not. So it wasn't really the end, because but I appreciate your opinion. Katie, do you have a favorite finale of all the shows?
Oh gosh. I really like Voyager, just the way that they all come together at the end. They're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because I have trauma from Quantum Leap and Sam Beckett never making it home. So when they got home, I'm like, okay, that healed something in me.
Yeah. And it's funny you mention that, because when we get into Voyager, that finale was not popular with the cast. So, but we'll talk about that.
Right, other than, J7, or C7.
Yeah.
J7's a different ship, but C7, no.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh. But Peter, you hit the nail on the head. This is a show that is great in streaming to be discovered because of its serialized format. You can sit down and just blast through a half dozen episodes in a weekend. If you're like, I'm snowed in this weekend, I'm just going to watch DS9. And you can follow this evolving story over 176 episodes in that fashion.
I watched 4 seasons in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
My gosh.
Yeah, it's easy to knock out. But I do like it how revered it is in streaming, but it was ignored in its time, because Ira, and I've met Ira, he was a guest on the cruise when we went in 2023, our first year. And to hear him talk about studio ignored us and left us alone, so we just did whatever the F we wanted. I love that. And I love that they managed to not get canceled. by doing that, like, well, nobody's watching, but how it's revered in streaming now and ignored in its time. And it just really reminds me of TOS, because TOS, they tried to cancel it 3 times. They were finally successful. And then 5 years later in syndication, it was the biggest show in entertainment, because people could watch it at their own pace, and back in those days, it was 5 nights. It was on after the local news, 5 nights a week. So you ate dinner watching the 78 episodes of TOS, and led us to what we have now. What'd you say?
5 Nights at Scotty's.
5 Nights at Scotty's. Ooh, it'd almost be a better name for the episode, but I'm sticking with what I got. All right, so then we move into talking about Voyager. I feel I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't let Katie take the reins. You're the Voyager.
Oh my gosh.
You're the Voyager.
And that's the thing with this too, is like getting to see, not to harp on what I already harped on with DS9, but like getting to see the behind the scenes details and getting to know more about like what it actually was like for them rather than just as a viewer. Because you go back, you rewatch Voyager, you see, oh, there's some nuances that I can pick up in here. Or, oh, I can see where they made these changes. And then you come in and you watch the documentary, you're like, oh yeah, this is where this happened and this happened. This, like, going through history of the show from the visual and behind the scenes aspect is just so rewarding as a fan. That's why I'm so glad that you told me, hey, you should watch this and we'll discuss it. Because I'm like, oh, yes.
Yeah, totally. No, I love it. I absolutely love it. I liked, and again, Larry is back. Larry, great to see
Larry.
you. But I love how he talked about the summer of 1994, which was kind of a special one for me. I just graduated from high school. Peter was born. Katie, I get the feeling you weren't.
Nope. I was minus 12 years old at that point.
The way that he described Star Trek Street at Paramount, where they're filming Generations over here, or they're doing pre-prep, or they're prepping for Voyager over there. DS9 has these stages, and TNG is wrapping up this thing. And I'm like, what a time it would be to just, visit that on the ethereal plane and see all of the Star Trek happening in one place at one time. I think it would be absolutely incredible.
If I could go back in time to that, you know what I would do is I would dumpster dive like mad. I would go to whenever they finish the series, I'd be like, all right, we're saving the set.
All right, I'm taking the warp core with me. Thank you.
This is my nacelle.
Not the ships survived, but yeah, the warp core. Where'd the dilithium matrix go? I don't know, guys.
Oh, geez, I don't know. It just fell off the truck.
Where's the captain's chair?
$69.95.
It's certainly not in the back of my van.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I don't own a van. What are you talking? That van doesn't have any plates.
Yeah.
Unsurprising.
Plates.
Yeah, unsurprising. Rick Berman, who everybody kind of hates anyway, says the most like stepping on it kind of thing. I kind of wanted to pump the brakes at this point and not do Voyager, but I'm like, part of me gets it, but part of me says, what are you, a moron? Mm-hmm. There's blood in the water. They want money. So they're going to move forward. Star Trek was hot. So to be like, no, we're just going to write out DS9, which is a show nobody likes, or at least that was their assertion, and not make a show that we think it's a show on a ship, so people will watch it because there can only be one at a time. Otherwise, people get so confused. Which is funny because Voyager started out strong and then also became unpopular, owing a lot into the fact that UPN, which was around for about 12 years, I think. It was around from at least 95 to 2005, because 2005 they were around to cancel Enterprise. Yeah. And I feel like, and then they merged with the WB. No, they merged with the WB to become something else. They merged to become the CW. Yeah. They became the CW. Those two merged, and that happened in the late-ish aughts. But it was, I think a lot of the reason people weren't seeing Voyager is because there were entire markets that didn't have room. But Katie, you'll appreciate this because you work in television, you work in terrestrial television. There were your classic big three, and then there were rooms for, a WB or a UPN in some places. In some places there weren't. Yeah. And there was no streaming, there was no internet, there was no way to really see them any other way. So the show's growth potential was limited in that fashion. Yeah. And so that didn't help it get bigger. Yet 7 years, and even Ethan Phillips, Johnny is apparently what he's called in person. I heard him referred to as on the cruise, mentions that 7 years is still a great run, no matter if you feel like people watching it or not. Yeah. All these wonderful people involved in making the show, starring in the show, whatever it is, we're still getting a paycheck. So people were still making a living off of it. It's a shame that people weren't, watching it. I found kind of a weird line where they say, oh, something Gene Roddenberry had planned all along was a female captain. But then I think about the line in Turnabout Intruder, the last episode of TOS, the unintentional last episode of TOS, which I feel like Gene had more of a hand in writing. And Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, that there's a very turned out line where Janice Lester says, well, you were a starship captain, so it doesn't permit women, which many people have interpreted to mean that there were not Starfleet captains who were women, which was not true at the time at all. So, Peter, am I right about Turnabout Intruder? Didn't Gene have more of a hand in that?
I think he did, but I don't remember. But I think what they were getting at was number one in The Cage, where women had more of a leadership role in the.
I can't get used to women on the bridge.
Well, there's still like the dumb comments, but like I'm just saying like the positioning. Yeah. So like, it's a little bit of a stretch to say what they did, but okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess.
They get into they pronounce the name different than I was. Genevieve Bujold, who is a French actress that I have not only not heard of before or ever heard of since. This made me laugh
almost
because
positive
when
I've seen her in things. I just don't remember.
Yeah. Probably a lot of European cinema, because it seems like that's her space. This brought back a memory for me. I worked in terrestrial radio for Cumulus Radio about 10 years ago here in Grand Rapids, where I live, and they brought in a new somebody new in management. And not my indirect management, but I sat down with her, and she knew that I was a Star Trek fan because it's pretty obviously well known to anybody who's met me. And she says, "Well, I'm related to." The woman who was originally cast as Catherine Janeway, and I think it was a gotcha moment, but it wasn't a gotcha moment, because I'm like, oh, really? You're related to Genevieve Bujold? And I think it made the blood run out of her face, because that probably zings a lot of people. But yeah, you don't know who you're messing with. But I've got to tell you, Genevieve was not good, because I've seen the footage before where it's basically several key scenes from the pilot of Voyager, where the one where they get swept into the Delta Quadrant, there's another one where she's having a chat with Tuvok in her writing room, and she's bad. She's really not good.
It's not the role for her.
And they really hit at that. She acted very disinterested. And the producers knew that if they fired her, they would catch a shitstorm and have to pay her. And she quits after like 2 or 3 days. And we're like, thank God. I did also really like the fact that they rolled out other actresses who are up for the role, of which I'd heard before, but I paused it in the moment because I didn't think April and I were watching it this morning. I don't think she'd heard this, but I said, who would you have picked? Because the choices were Susan Gibney, who nobody knows because she was Leah Brahms outside of Star Trek, Linda Hamilton, Aaron Gray, who was from Buck Rogers, and then the last one was the Bionic Woman, Lindsay Wagner. And April picked Linda Hamilton, of course, from Terminator. Who would you guys pick if it was one of those? Would you pick Linda or somebody else?
Oh gosh, that's hard.
What do you think?
I mean, I'm going to be lame and pick Linda Hamilton because I know who she is.
I was about to say the same
thing. The thing is, I know of the other people, but I haven't watched the things that they're in, so I can't say if they're good or not. I know Linda Hamilton can act. So
Linda Hamilton is, Terminator and Terminator 2 are extraordinarily iconic, where Buck Rogers was a show that was on for 2 years in the 70s, and then that kind of went away. And as far as other things, Aaron Gray has been in not so much. Yeah. And then the Bionic Woman, same thing. It was on, it was a thing in the 70s.
And then also, just to talk about the actress who played Leah Brahms, I would be hesitant because she played a character in 2 episodes of TNG.
Right.
And you also already had another actor who was migrating over from an appearance in TNG, and that would just be weird.
Yeah, right. True. Yeah, and that's very valid.
Granted. Jeffrey Combs has done it, but not in the lead role.
Yeah. Jeffrey Combs is Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah, he is allowed to do these things.
Yeah, I didn't at all know that the spectacular Kate Mulgrew, who of course became Janeway, had read or come in for the role of Janeway, and Jerry Taylor turned her down flat. I did not know that, which is ironic because now there is a Janeway statue, which I visited for a second time recently in Bloomington, Indiana, which was the late Jerry Taylor's hometown. So I think it's funny that is
that's where she said Janeway was from. It's in the book.
Yeah,
Mosaic.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But absolutely correct. So I found that awesome. But I've not met Kate directly. I know that you have, Katie. I've seen pictures of you with her. I've heard her speak. I missed her on the cruise last year, which I felt bad about because we didn't go. Because when I go on the cruise, my mission is to have at least one interaction with every actor who's there. So I would have chatted with her. So that's still a goal. And I want to put her and my wife together because my wife's favorite show is also Voyager, which I think is in a lot of ways very common with women of our age. You know, they really, they because they love Janeway. So I absolutely loved Bob Picardo lampooning the Kazon. The Kazon suck. I mean, it's Temu Klingons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have warp-faring technology, but they can't make water or find water or take a bath or whatever. I mean, they were terrible. They were terrible.
Yeah, they weren't good.
Not my favorite.
Yeah, you guys probably don't remember much about UPN at all because it came on in 1995. But they were showing clips from the other shows, one of which was with two actors, one guy who was a rapper and another guy who was on a show called A Different World, called Homeboys in Outer Space. They didn't name it by name because it's kind of offensive to the sound of it, but I watched it and it was unironically hilarious. There were other UPN shows that launched with Voyager that were kind of fun, but it was fun in you lived in the 90s and they made a lot of topical references that today would not land. Very sad wrinkle about Jennifer Lean, who played Kes.
Oh gosh, that was sad.
Who, as I understand it, has suffered from a lot of mental health issues, undiagnosed. They were undiagnosed at the time and left her leaving the industry, and has been very sad. Anything you hear about her since then is usually not a great story. So that's sad. But then big controversy time. We're bringing in Jerry Ryan as the over-sexualized 7 of 9. Not at first. And at first she's dressed up as a Borg and not very sexy. But everybody is up in arms, and it gets even worse when she gets into a relationship with one of the producers. Woo! My goodness. Yeah. So
that was a little
I don't know.
detail I didn't know actually happened.
I did. I didn't know about that. Well, I thought it was kind of, so we're talking about Brown Braga, who, when he was, he was full disclosure, was trying to be upfront with the cast and let them know that this was going on. And he talked about a conversation that he had with Kate where he revealed it, and she said, well, are you in love with her? And he said, yes. He says, well, then I'm very happy to you. And he says, because that was Kate, because Kate is awesome. And I agree. Anything I've ever seen with Kate Mulgrew, she is a top shelf human being. She's just really, really fantastic. So I thought that was pretty cool. I did not know that, and Peter, maybe you knew this, that Braga jumped ship before Voyager was over to go over to Enterprise. I think
I kind of assumed that, but I don't think it was like something in my frontal cortex.
Yeah. So he was not involved in the last season of the show, which which was not an overall great season. We talked about it not that long ago. But I don't know if that really had anything to do with it. And then I really thought it was sad when they were wrapping it up that some people liked the finale. I think Beltran didn't care for the finale. But one thing that I found super sad, and they also had Roxanne Dawson on to talk a bit about this, but he said as we were winding things down, they were tearing the sets down around us, and there was no last day. There was no Berman coming down to give us his best wishes when things wrap up. And Bob Picardo says, one of these don't let the door hit your ass on the way out kind of vibe. And I just thought that sucks.
Yeah.
Because they were so hyper fixated on, well, Enterprise is starting out, so get the F out. Because I need your give me your boots. I need your boots. You know what I mean? It was just it was tough. I think that was something that was tough to hear. I really hated hearing about that. Larry is back again, time and again, and he has this line, and this makes me think of you, Katie. Janeway's Army, people who love Janeway. I never heard that said before, so I sent him a DM and I complimented on that because I had not heard it before. And that was that. Again, here's a show that has really blossomed in streaming, and Bob Picardo mentioned in an interview with Kurt Krug, who is our contributor, when Bob was here for Motor City Comic Con last year, that Voyager is a show that has really blossomed in streaming because people can just sit down and knock it out. And he said during COVID in particular, when people were, hostages in their homes anyway, that they discovered Voyager as well as other Star Trek shows. So that's great. And you guys obviously came to the show, obviously not when it was on, because Katie, you weren't even alive, and Peter, you were a young man. But did the streaming aspect of it, is that how you guys kind of found it, library or disc or whatever it is?
Yeah, I started with Netflix. My original Star Trek viewing was on, what was it? Oh, it was some website I definitely could have gotten malware from. But then I realized, it's Netflix is here. Oh, let's try this, because now Netflix was the thing online instead of just DVDs. Yeah. And yeah, Voyager was one. It was I want to say the second one I saw after Next Gen. I skipped DS9 and then went back to DS9. Because I had heard such good things about Voyager. And so, yeah, it definitely. And then you add in like the new life that it got with Prodigy for all the JC shippers out there. And it just kind of got an additional kick from the 2020s onward with that.
Right. Peter, what about you? Where did it land in the sequence of you watching shows?
Voyager was actually the last one I watched all the way through.
Okay.
So I grew up on TNG TOS kind of mushed together. And then I moved overseas, found Deep Space Nine. Definitely,
it's like saying you found religion.
Definitely not where most people would want me to find it, but streaming didn't quite exist in 2010, 2009. So I found it, I watched it, then I finished it sometime when I got back to the US. Saw Enterprise. Because I had been converted to it because my friends were like, no, you have to give this a chance. So I watched Enterprise, and then I was in the middle of watching Enterprise when they were like, okay, here's some Voyager episodes. And the ones that I saw, the one that converted me was, you're going to laugh, Bride of Chaotica.
Yes!
Yeah!
I love that episode. So I watched that and was like, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. And so I went back, and then I watched all of Voyager. So,
just the music alone in that one's enough to get you. Da, 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 da,
yeah.
Da,
dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun,
no. Yeah, it's just so funny.
Oh my goodness. Well, this has been awesome. What a great king-sized episode. We're clocking it in almost 2 hours, which we don't often do, but you know what? We were launching a new show, which I can tell all of us like. And I'm so kind of passionate with the direction that I think this is going to take. And I think you guys, I hope that you guys continue to share that with me. Katie, I love having you as a network contributor. Thank you for being here with us. And we will have you back time and again, just because you really gel with us. You know, again, Peter and I have been making the show together for almost 5 years. We've had a lot of people in and out of the chair, and we're really just focused on people that we love working with. And you're part of the crew now. So
shucks.
Thank you very much for being here. Where do people find you on the interwebs?
Oh, on the interwebs, I gallivant between all of the social medias. I'm weather_Katie on pretty much everything, or you could just look up Nicolau if you can figure out how to spell that. But also, I'm so many random fandoms on YouTube. And you'll most recently find me just running around in the outdoors of Michigan in -5-degree weather this week. So
great choice. Sounds like fun. Peter, what about you?
Well, you can find me around the interwebs at Petrus Aquinas. Not terribly active, but if you poke at me, I may say something. But probably not. I'm most around on our Discord, and then over at ELH's Twitch and YouTube channel, where we do Star Trek Adventures and other role-playing games. And you can also find me behind the scenes on Starship Excelsior, which should be releasing a new episode in the next month or so.
Oh, very cool. Well, we will talk more about that. Maybe we'll get James back on to talk about that too. Another network contributor is your friend James, who makes that show. I can be found not only on my personal socials, which are at the C3, TheCeeThree, on all of the socials, but I also run our Secret Friends Unite socials, which you can find at all those places. But a particular note, our Secret Friends Unite YouTube channel and TikTok, I do my little, I used to call them kitchen chats, but I filmed a couple down here in the studio, where I spend in 3 minutes or less just telling you about something that I'm enjoying. I probably do those 2-3 times a week, not overkill, or at least when I have a chance to talk about something interesting. You can find them there. But a great place to interact with us is over on our Secret Friends Unite Discord. It's easy to find, but if you don't find it, you can drop us a note. We'll point you in the right direction. But as always, secretfriendsunite@gmail.com. That's our mailbag. Let us know what you thought out about Starfleet Academy. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We'll certainly talk about it on a future episode of the show. If you drop us a line or absolutely anything that you're enjoying in the world of nerd, and we will talk about it. But again, Katie has joined us. Katie, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Friends, and as always, I will tell you that sharing is caring, and to keep on trekking.
Peace and long life.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.